You've been to countless speech therapy appointments. You've practiced sounds at home, tried technique that therapists suggest, and maybe even gone through tongue and lip tie revisions, and still, your child struggles to communicate. They plateau, they get frustrated. You see other kids at their age stringing sentences together and chattering away while your little one remains silent or difficult to understand. It breaks your heart, and deep down you wonder, what are we missing? Here's what most parents have never been told. Nearly 1 in 12 U.S. children ages 3 to 17 experience voice, speech, language, or swallowing disorder, and almost all of them are getting the same type of help therapies that focus exclusively on the output, the muscle, the sound, the drills, without ever addressing the input and integration, the neurological coordination that lives within the brain and the nervous system. The truth is, speech delays and communication challenges are rarely just an output problem. They're far more often an input and processing problem. And that's exactly where neurologically focused chiropractic care changes the game for them. Let's share Beckham's story. When Beckham first came into our office, communication was one of his biggest struggles. He desperately wanted to connect, to share, to ask for what he needed, but it usually came out as whining and frustration. His parents were left guessing, and when they guessed wrong, the meltdowns would follow fast. From his first month of care until things began to shift, Mom noticed immediate progress. Beckham started grouping words together and building longer sentences. Over the weeks, the improvements kept coming. Today, instead of silence or tears, Beckham is finding his voice. He confidently asks for what he wants and needs. Even his ABA therapist sees a huge difference, noting how much easier it is to work with him now that the communication is no longer the biggest roadblock. For Beckham and his family, this has been life-changing. Traditional approaches often create plateaus. To understand why Beckham's story is so common in our practice, we need to break down how speech actually works from a neurological perspective. Speech is a 3-step process. First, we have your input. The brain receives auditory and sensory signals. Then we have the integration. The brain processes and organizes those signals. And third, we have the output. The brain sends coordinated signals to the muscles that produce speech. Now, most therapies work entirely at the output level, retraining muscles and practicing sounds, but if there's interference in the nervous system that is actually disrupting the input and the integration phases of speech, then no amount of drills you can perform will overcome the breakdown that's happening upstream. That's why so many kids plateau. They're working really hard, but their nervous system is still stuck. So where does the nervous system interference come from? Why do they have that? Why is it not processing in that specific phase and order? Subluxation and the dysfunction that lives within their nervous system. So it's going to be a misalignment and tension in the spine that actually usually occurs in the upper neck and brain, which is going to disrupt the signals as they're trying to input into the brain for that proper speech coordination. Now, this happens through birth trauma is going to be your very first. So interventions like forceps, vacuum, or C-section can injure the delicate areas and actually impact the ability to speak because of that deeply rooted stressor. Vagus nerve dysfunction. This is a superhighway of a nerve that directly controls vocal cords, swallowing, breathing rhythm. If stressed, it can leave kids with poor speech clarity and constant fight or flight activation. So the result is we often see kids like Beckham stuck struggling to communicate despite all the effort, therapy, and love poured into them. So neurological chiropractic care fits into this because speech delays are often about motor or tongue. They're about the nervous system's ability to proper coordinate that 3-step process of input, integration, and expression. Chiropractic care works to restore the connection and efficiency of that pathway so kids can find their voice. They can get more out of speech therapy and get back on track developmentally with all of their progression and ultimately help them get through that storm and on to hitting these developmental milestones with ease. At Cultivate, we begin by identifying the perfect storm stressors in a child's history. Pregnancy stress, birth interventions, early illnesses, constant antibiotics. We can see on this scan here that it's going to be the scans that we perform in our office, and they will show us where the nervous system is stuck, where it's overloaded, where we actually need to help the nervous system and provide those gentle, specific adjustments that are going to help the nervous system overcome that stress that's been stuck on their system for a long period of time often. If everything we've talked about sounds far too familiar, we really encourage you, reach out to our team, schedule your insight scans for your child so that you can help your kid get out of this storm and get out of this stuck subluxation and into a space where their nervous system is regulating. That 3-step speech process is going to be actually what we seek versus just going after the output. We have to hit that input, we have to hit that integration, and the output will come with ease. Hope this finds you well and is a connecting piece to help your child that has been struggling, stuck in their speech.